Hello. This week you were asked to read the article that is in the resource folder in Moodle's called Digital Natives, Digital Immigrants. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about that article and the idea behind this digital native, digital immigrant idea because it affects us no matter what we study, where we work, whether we are teachers or just in the workplace environment. The idea of adapting to if you didn't grow up in as a native digital person, or the idea that natives need to understand that those of us who are immigrants need to do some adapting. So we have to adapt on both sides. So let's have a little chat about that. The article mentions singularity, an event which changes things so fundamentally that there is absolutely no going back. The arrival and rapid dissemination of digital technology in the last 2 decades of the 20th century. Today's students think and process information fundamentally differently from their predecessors. Digital natives. Today's students are native speakers of the digital language of computers, video games, and the internet. The rest of us, if you're of a certain age, are digital immigrants. The difference is immigrants learn to adapt to their environment, but they retain their original accent, their foot in the past. This always makes me smile because I'm originally from New Jersey, so I have a natural accent. I always tell my students that the only time they'll hear it is if I'm tired or drunk, and hopefully they never see me drunk. So it would be when I get tired, I'll do something like in a class the other day I said, well, who uses Twitter? Well, that just slipped out because I was tired, didn't sleep well the night before. So I said Twitter. And that's normally the way I would speak. I had to teach myself in college. I had a dialect coach. I was a drama minor, and I had a dialect coach that told me that I would only play certain kinds of characters if I could only speak with a Jersey accent. So I taught myself how to speak without an accent. Sometimes it slips back, as I said, but I have one, and I understand this whole idea of digital immigrants. Now I'm a little bit more advanced than your normal digital immigrant because I have advanced degrees in the subject area. But when I think of even some of my friends who have kids in high school and they are not connecting with them on the same level because they're thinking what I like to call old school. In education, digital immigrant instructors who speak an outdated language are struggling to teach a population that speaks an entirely new language. It's like somebody walking into a room speaking Spanish and everybody in the room speaks English. Natives are used to receiving their information fast. They parallel process and multitask. Now, I'm on the fence with the whole multitasking thing. A lot of my students will argue with me that they are just used to multitasking and they do it well. But most of the research points to multitasking is learning a little bit of everything and not a lot of something. Digital's natives thrive on instant gratification. They want their answers, they want it now. And immigrants learn to teach slow and methodically and step by step and individually. You know, some teachers are still doing it. Many teachers are still doing it. I'm sure you've had some teaching in a way that you just want them to move quicker. You just want it to get done. You get it already. And they're taking the old-fashioned, old school way of step-by-step individual instruction. And it's the way they were taught. Today's teachers need to learn to communicate in the language and style of their students. And there are teachers that will argue this. They'll say, no, they have to adapt to me. But unfortunately, our digital natives don't know any other way. So it's time to adapt to them. There's two kinds of content when you're talking about teaching. Now, I'm not just talking about classroom teaching there, although this could be in any job you can imagine. You're going to be dealing with digital natives and you'll be dealing with digital immigrants. So the two kinds of content are legacy content. In this case, reading, writing, arithmetic, traditional curriculum. In your job, whatever has always worked, whether it's a manufacturing of something or sales. And now the future content is learning to use that with digital and technologically, including software, hardware, robotics, but also the ethics, the politics, the sociology, and the languages of that world need to be taught on both sides. Some ways the book says we could help is through CAD, computer aided design. And computer games for learning are making a great resurgence in this area. They started to build and they lost a little momentum, and now they're gearing back up again to help teach our digital natives. Natives crave interactivity and immediate response. Interactivity is huge, and we'll go more into that in the following weeks when we get into the interactive documentary, interactive design for the internet. The idea of being able to communicate back at your device is hugely important. Immigrants must become tradigital. Tradigital is a traditional digital expert.
Let's face it, school's not what it used to be. Today's high schoolers are learning how to fly drones and 3D printing their artwork. It's really cool, but also kind of scary. So what crazy new technologies will replace number 2 pencils and good old graph paper in the classrooms of the future? Virtual reality has been around since the 90s, but now Facebook and Google are no longer in your face, but on your face. Google's Expeditions program turns smartphones into virtual reality viewers using simple, inexpensive cardboard. And now that Facebook's bought Oculus Rift, they're planning on getting into classroom gaming as early as next year. This is the first kind of headgear that might get you into the popular crowd. 3D printing in schools is revolutionizing the art of show and tell. These printers can make machine parts, jewelry, even guns. Yesterday's arts and crafts is now modern-day engineering. Elementary-aged children are already using 3D printing to design prosthetic hands. Remember how you had to lug around heavy books and then swap them out for other heavy books from your locker? Well, now there's the cloud, saving students from back problems everywhere. But the cloud could also give teachers direct access to data on students' study habits. By doing all their homework online, students provide engagement data on how long they've spent on their assignments and whether or not they're taking notes. There's a bonus, though. Major publishers could use that data to judge how effective and engaging certain textbooks are, so you could be recycling that boring algebra book. With biometrics technology, you've got fingerprint scanning to borrow library books and iris scanning instead of ID cards. Teachers will even be able to tell if you're concentrating or not during online courses using eye tracking technologies. Yikes. It's like old school projectors, but in 3D. Remember Michael Jackson's Back from the Dead moonwalk performance? Well, hologram technology in classrooms is still just a dream for now because it's too expensive. But in the future, it would allow teachers to give lessons to students across the world. Imagine taking a tour of a historic 3D model of the Colosseum right from your desk. The potential for new technology in the classroom is pretty amazing. But will it cause students who are plugged in all the time to forget what it's like to live in the real world?
So the future looks pretty fascinating, but the article does tell us that there are some challenges to this whole digital native, digital immigrant situation. Our digital natives are having trouble with reflection and critical thinking. So critical thinking involves a wide range of thinking skills leading towards desirable outcomes, and reflective thinking focuses on the process of making adjustments about what has happened. However, reflective thinking is most important in prompting learning during complex problem-solving situations because it provides students with an opportunity to step back and think about how they actually solve problems and how a particular set of problem-solving strategies is appropriated for achieving their goal. This kind of ties into the fast-moving, wanting their answers now, interactive lifestyle. Are we losing our critical thinking and our reflective thinking in the classroom? And like I said, not just in the classroom, but all walks of life. This is not just educators. All jobs need Tradigitals, which refers to the melding or combination of traditional and computer-based methods used to create something. Sorry, my phone went off. We have to learn how to bridge the gap by keeping our traditional and building our digital. It's complicated. It's something to think about. So for your project this week, I would like you to find an online learning game. There's a lot of free resources out there. Take us through the steps of the game and share your thoughts on how well you think it teaches and what might work better. Think about the digital native while you're doing this. How does this game play into the way they think? How could they improve on the game to think more like a digital native? Do you think that it's a good alternative or additive to their learning? I also would like you to share the game in the forum so others could play around with it, and then post your 2-page APA-style paper of your findings from the game in the assignment area. Thank you and have a great week.